So, one fine day, as I'm going through with my usual afternoon, I encountered a rather shocking news. Okay, probably not shocking, but I saw an opportunity. An opportunity to finally introduce you to making your very own reusable shopping slash tote bags. And mind you, nobody wants to end up paying a whole lot more for groceries just for those useless single use plastic bags, which eventually will be thrown out, contributing to more environmental waste. So let's create a reusable shopping bag with a twist using the better NV180. Warning, it will be colorful, you might feel very envy and start making your own. Alright, just kidding. But if you feel like it, make it with me. So let's start going over the materials we will need for this project. We will need some strips of colorful fabric, or in my case, some jelly rolls. Jelly rolls are strips of fabric that were cut into 2.5-inch wide strips. We will need a lining fabric, some fusible interfacing for the bag handles, a wide batting fabric enough to cut out a 28 by 45-inch rectangle, a rotary cutter, a marking pen, a seam roller, a loop turner, sewing thread, a long ruler, and an iron to fuse the interfacing. To begin, start by preparing all the fabric needed for this project. The batting will be cut into a 28 by 45-inch rectangle, enough to accommodate all the 12 strips. It is necessary to leave room as the batting will shrink when being sewn. The lining fabric is cut into a 20.5 by 24.5 rectangle. Next is to choose 12 different colored strips from the jelly roll. This will become the outer body of the bag. From the remaining strips, choose 2 strips for the bag handle. This will be cut into a 27-inch long strip. Proceed in cutting the fusible interfacing the same length and width as the bag handle strips. Once cut, the interfacing is then fused with an iron onto the bag handle strips. This will provide more stability for the handle. To begin creating the outer body of the bag, lay the batting out and choose a random strip from the set of 12 jelly rolls. Place the jelly roll on one side of the batting, right side down. It is necessary to estimate the placement of the strip to ensure that all strips will be sewn neatly and to avoid overhang. The strip will be sewn 1/4 of an inch away from the inner side. This will eliminate the quilting process as the strips are directly sewn onto the batting fabric. Once done, the strip is then flipped and pressed with a seam roller. The next step is to choose another strip. This will be placed right side down onto the first strip. This will also be sewn 1/4 of an inch along the entire length. It is important to ensure that both edges are aligned when sewing. Once done, the strip is then flipped and pressed with a seam roller. Repeat the steps until all 12 jelly rolls were sewn onto the batting fabric. It is not necessary to create a color pattern, as the goal here is to make it look scrappy as possible. The machine I'm using is my current favorite, the Brother NV180. This machine is capable of sewing, embroidering, and even quilting. And it can sew fast, especially when sewing long seams like this project. Once all the strips are sewn down onto the batting fabric, the batting is then trimmed down to its actual size. This bag measures 20 inches in height and 24 inches in width. It is large enough to be used as a shopping bag or your go-to everyday bag. Once it is trimmed down, the batting is then folded right side to right side, and both sides will be sewn 1/4 of an inch using a straight stitch. This step is to close the sides of the bag. The next step is to box both bottom corners of the bag. This is done by pinching one corner and folding it into a triangle. Using a ruler, mark 3.5 inches away from the pointed tip and mark using a marking pen. This line will be sewn twice to ensure that the bag does not rip out when being used. Once sewn, the excess is then trimmed, leaving about 1/4 of an inch of seam allowance. The main body of the bag is then made. The next step is to create and attach the handles by using the two strips with interfacing. To create the handle, fold one strip right side to right side and sew 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. This is done on both strips. Once done, the seam allowance is trimmed down to about 1/8 of an inch to reduce bulk when turning the handle. Next is to turn the handle inside out by using a loop turner. The handle is then pressed flat. To ensure a flat handle, it is recommended to top stitch both edges of the handle. This will also give a decorative touch to the handle. Once both handle is top stitched, proceed in attaching both handles. This is done from the outside. Place both ends of the handle along the edge of the opening. The distance of the attachment depends on your preference. It could be far apart or near to each other. Secure the handles by sewing 2 rows of straight stitches. Once done, the final step is to finish the bag by sewing in the lining fabric. The lining is sewn the same way as the main body of the bag by folding it right side to right side. One side will be fully sewn down, while the other side will have a few inches unsewn. This will serve as an opening to help in turning the bag inside out. Using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, sew the sides of the bag lining. Once done, the bottom corners are then boxed by sewing 2 rows of straight stitches. Trim the excess fabric, and the lining is then ready to be attached to the main body of the bag. With right side out, insert the main body of the bag into the lining fabric. The lining and the main body will be sewn right side to right side along the edge of the entire opening. Ensure that the handles are tucked inside the bag to avoid accidentally stitching them. Sew 1/2 of an inch along the entire edge of the opening. Once done, the bag is turned right side out through the gap of the lining fabric. The gap that was left unsewn is then stitched down to be closed. The final step is to top stitch the entire opening of the bag to secure all layers, the main body and the lining fabric. Then the bag is done. This tote bag is definitely a fun project and is very timely since single-use plastic bags are now being charged with a fee. This can also be used as an ideal summer outing bag when going on trips or even going shopping, but is absolutely useful for grocery shopping. I hope that you enjoy this tote bag project, and I can expect that you will be making yours too? Yes? Perfect. Then I'll see you soon. For now, I will get on with my shopping. Bye now.